What is in New Zealand's climate action plan? And how much can moving away from fossil fuels improve air quality? Welcome to the Climate Recap from the Beckisphere Climate Corner, your go-to place for international and US-based climate news. I'm Becky Hogue, a science writer. Today is Wednesday, May 18th. Let's jump right into the news you need to start your day. Let's start with some climate events. Pakistan is still experiencing record heat waves, which are resulting in a water crisis and power outages. This is particularly bad in the province of Jacobabad, which reached 124 degrees Fahrenheit or 51 degrees Celsius this past weekend. Experts say this temperature lines up with their climate change projections. Power shortages only allow for 6 hours of electricity access in rural areas and 12 hours of access in cities. Major water and electricity infrastructure problems are making this situation much worse. Groups dubbed water mafias have tapped into government reserves to sell to people. Yesterday, I said that one of the fires burning in New Mexico was the second largest in the state's history. Well, now it's just been declared the largest, encompassing almost 300,000 acres as of yesterday morning. The fire is known as the Calf Canyon Fire, and it's fueled by climate change-induced megadrought and winds. Hot temperatures and low humidity are expected to continue through the week, according to the National Weather Service. High-speed winds are also expected to return, concerning jaded New Mexico firefighters. On to a climate study. New research from the University of Texas and Hong Kong Polytechnic University shows that flash droughts are the next biggest concern for the U.S. Midwest. These are moderate to severe droughts that develop as quickly as 5 days, throwing farmers and their crops off guard. Droughts typically develop over the span of months. In the last year, these events have increased in commonality by 20% in the central U.S. This could heavily impact our domestic food production. Now on to some climate victories. New Zealand announced a landmark 15-year climate action plan on Monday. The plan involves ending fossil fuel reliance, tackling landfill-bound waste, establishing sustainable agriculture practices, and helping drivers move towards electric vehicles. The country's goal is to keep warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. About $4.5 billion from New Zealand's emissions trading system went to a climate fund to achieve this goal. Michael Bloomberg, billionaire and former mayor of New York, announced that his philanthropy group would provide $24 million to spur clean energy investments in 10 developing countries. These countries are Bangladesh, Brazil, Colombia, Kenya, Mozambique, Nigeria, Pakistan, South Africa, Turkey, and Vietnam. Bloomberg Philanthropies and partner groups such as Sustainable Energy for All and Climate Works Foundation will work with local governments and businesses to allocate the money in the most useful way. Some ways the money might be spent include research and development, public education, clean energy pilot programs, and buyout programs for existing coal plants. There's a new powerful tool on the market called Lives Saved Calculator, produced by the research consortium Climate Impact Lab, that models avoided mortality and adaptation costs if specific local, state, and national-led emissions cutting and clean energy targets are met. For example, if 13 states and DC met their zero emissions targets for 2050, the calculator estimates that 1 to 2.4 million lives will be saved by 2100. The methodology behind this calculator is based on new research published in the Quarterly Journal of Economics that focuses on the relationship between temperature and mortality. The Climate Impact Lab hopes this new tool will provide more information for policymakers. A new international expert panel, led by Mexico's previous president and the World Health Organization's former head, has been set up to address overshooting of 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming. Called the Climate Overshoot Commission, it explores options like large-scale geoengineering and carbon dioxide removal technology. It's scary to think that we have to start thinking about geoengineering, honestly, but it's good that we're starting to think about it ahead of time, I guess. Now on to some climate fails. A new scientific study published in the Environmental Research Letters determines that over half of current fossil fuel projects will need to be shut down earlier than current end targets if we are to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The researchers analyzed 25,000 oil and gas fields and developed a new dataset for coal mines. They found that fields and mines already developed would lead to 936 billion tons of CO2 equivalent by the end of their lifespans, which is equivalent to 25 years of global emissions at today's rate. The lead author, who's part of Oil Change International, had this to say about the findings. Quote, "Our study reinforces that building new fossil fuel infrastructure is not a viable response to Russia's war in Ukraine. The world has already tapped too much oil and gas." Meanwhile, another study shows that climate change is hurting the insurance industry, and yet only 8% of insurers are preparing adequately for the impact. The assessment found that insured losses from extreme weather events have increased by 250% in the last 30 years. This study was done by the consultant agency Capgemini and the financial industry body EFMA. Let's finish off with a chemical study. Research by the University of Wisconsin-Madison found that eliminating air pollution from burning fossil fuels will prevent more than 500,000 premature deaths each year in the U.S. It would also provide more than $600 billion in health benefits. The study looked at how moving away from fossil fuels would reduce fine particulates, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxides produced during electricity production, transportation, industrial activities, etc. Quote, "We're trying to shift mindsets from burdens to benefits," one of the researchers said. On average, 2/3 of the health benefits from eliminating emissions in a region will be felt in the region. And that was your climate news for Wednesday, May 18th. If you like the work I do, please follow this podcast, give it a 5-star rating, leave a review, and consider checking out the Beckisphere Climate Corner YouTube channel. Remember to talk about the climate crisis every single day and to support your local news organizations. Bye for now.